And to go deeper into this topic today, we welcome in for this public consultation international analyst Arnold August. Welcome, Arnold, here too from the South.
Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you, Belen, and other correspondents from teleSUR. Thank you.
It's our pleasure, of course, Arnold. And first, tell us, you know these experiences of popular power firsthand. Just for anyone that is listening who does not understand why these public consultations are a key element to strengthen direct democracy, how would you explain this process to them?
Well, it's in a few minutes, it's difficult to explain. I think we have to start, in my view, with the concept that the Bolivarian Revolution took place starting in 1998, 1999. And everything that is being carried out at this time is in the context of strengthening the revolutionary political power. So you have this massive consultations going on in a very difficult situation where the United States is waging a military and cognitive war against the Venezuelan people. Now, of course, it is a form of participatory democracy, yes, but I would go even further and say that, as Chavez has mentioned very often, and later Maduro, it's participatory and also protagonist democracy. And someone who knows a lot about political power, Padrino Lopez, the head of the defense in Venezuela, mentioned yesterday that what is happening now is an example of protagonist democracy. But above all, I would like to highlight a very interesting comment made by a militant that was interviewed by teleSUR in one of the barrios in Caracas. He said regarding what is happening now, the consultation, it is, I'm quoting from, it is not just about voting, it's about sovereignty, it's about governance. And that, I think, is a very important point coming from someone who is perhaps not an expert, but from the ground, from the grassroots, very much appreciating it's about continuing the Bolivarian Revolution. And as one of the main features of it right from the beginning is that it is the people who are the ones who are in the driver's seat of the Bolivarian Revolution. And what is happening now is one more example how the Bolivarian Revolution is governing itself. The people are governing their own revolution. That is why there's so much participation today, even from people who may not agree with everything that is being done by the Bolivarian Revolution. They, according to your reports, are participating in this important activity today.
Now, Arnold, precisely in terms of what you were saying, worldwide, we have been seeing signs, especially among Western liberal democracies, of people losing trust in their systems and participation turnout overall going down in many, many countries. In this case, as you were saying, we have a new, different model of participation. What effect do you think that this has on a larger scale in terms of turnout and in terms of reinstating confidence in democracy?
I was in Venezuela for the last few elections that took place, the presidential elections a while ago, and then the local state and governorship elections. And what I noticed then, and now I'm noticing through your excellent reports, that people participate actively in this. Irrespective of the percentage of voting, people see this process as part of their own process. And of course, I think you mentioned, how the West looks at it. There's a lot that's being said with regards to the current war that the United States is waging against Venezuela. Of course, it's for oil, I know, but in my view, it's only one aspect. I think another very important aspect alongside oil and natural resources is that the United States wants to put an end to this model of a new type of political system, a new type of economic system that is being developed in Venezuela that is gaining increasing support from the people across the country, while on the other hand, the participation and the interest amongst the people in the Western capitalist countries is going down. this political system, the economic system is increasingly discredited, while in Venezuela it is increasingly popular for people to participate in their own activity. I mean, one of the slanders is that, this type of elections is participatory elections is to have sort of a controlled opposition. Well, how come the opposition in Venezuela, the so-called opposition, the business people, all the main business federations do not support the U.S. military intervention in Venezuela. And they, of course, participating in this activity today. So there's no controlled opposition. What the United States wanted to control as the opposition, they've lost control of the narrative. They've lost control of the opposition. And most of the people in Venezuela, even if they may have differences with the Bolivarian orientation, are participating in this activity today. People from 15 years and older, that is really an amazing aspect that I have to highlight. Young people participating in this activity, seeing through their own daily activity today what it means in the real world for people to govern themselves through a political system that responds to their basic aspirations and dignity.
Now, precisely, Arnold, in terms of what you were saying, of course, we cannot forget to say that this is happening while the U.S. is weaponizing terms such as the so-called war against drug trafficking or democracy itself. And this is being carried out while the largest military deployment that the region has been seeing is stationed there in the Caribbean. How are you viewing this recent escalation of threats from the U.S. to Venezuela and the way that Venezuela is responding as well?
I've been following it very closely, as you know. I mean, one thing I noticed when the so-called gunboat diplomacy, violent gunboat diplomacy carried out by the United States against the fishing vessels in the Caribbean, at that time when it started, there was around 4 million members of the militia, that is, those who volunteer from amongst the citizens, retired folks, older folks, younger people volunteer to become part of the militia. That is in addition to the formal armed forces. Now that 4 million jumped to over 8 million in a period of several months after the United States started their aggressive activities, and President Maduro called on the people to enlist in the militias. That was a response. That is another example how Venezuela is a protagonist democracy. People govern themselves. If people do not see the revolution as their revolution, why would they give up their comfort at home and enlist to be part of an armed militia to confront the most powerful army in the world, that of the United States? That goes a long way to show the content of the Bolivarian Revolution and the importance that people see in defending their own revolution against the United States. And I'm convinced that irrespective of what the United States does, they will not be able to make Venezuela capitulate or lose in the long term.
Thank you so much, Arnold, for giving us all this context to better understand what is happening right now in Venezuela. It's a pleasure to have you as always.
It's a pleasure to be with you once again. Thank you very much.